Thanks for tuning in to Unbreakable with Chris Chamasiros. I talk about politics, sports, and entertainment to keep you well rounded, what's going on around the world. If you don't like hearing the truth, definitely don't tune into this channel. So let's jump right in. There's been a lot of talk about Stephen A. Smith running from president, and it's been coming from unlikely sources, as in President Trump and Patrick Bet David, and a lot of conservatives saying that type of thing. I would expect that from Democrats, not so much Republicans and conservatives, but that's what I've been hearing on a lot of conservative platforms. And I am quite shocked, to be honest. Stephen A. Smith, all he does is race bait 24 hours a day on ESPN. He stands for absolutely nothing. He has voted Democrat his entire life. He supported Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and all their ridiculous policies through and through and through. So I don't understand why any Republican or so-called conservative would be saying it's a good idea for Stephen A. Smith to run for president. Makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. I'm trying to find the angle with all this. And I know the elite or the upper echelon of, who runs our society likes to appoint certain people or try to get certain people elected into office. And it seems to me they're going the route that they don't want a career politician, that they want somebody that's from a different background, a black male. And I was really thinking about it. Stephen A. Smith stands for absolutely nothing. He has no business skills. You see him on ESPN race baiting 24 hours a day, flip flopping. He'll say one thing, 5 minutes later, he says another thing, totally contradicts what he says. So if we're going to pick a black male who doesn't come from a political background, I suggest we select 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson. Now, I'm not even trying to be funny at all, at all. So just hear me out. Curtis Jackson, aka 50 Cent, grew up on the streets of Queens. We all know he's a street guy, was a gangster, retired gangster. He's just a businessman now, businessman. So he has those skills to run a business like President Trump. He can turn nothing into a multi-million dollar industry, probably in the trillions, which he is worth this day. So we obviously know he can do business. Number two, he's a leader of men. He led his crew. He's the leader. He's the one when times are rough and things are down. Who do they all look to in the crew? 50 Cent. Who do they all respect in the crew? 50 Cent. And that goes a long way. You want a leader of men, and that's what he is, obviously. I believe in my heart of hearts that 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson, is a man of his word. Whatever he says he's going to do, whether it's good or bad, he is going to do it. Stephen A. Smith, the words that come out of his mouth mean absolutely nothing. So when I look at Curtis Jackson speak, when I look at 50 Cent speak, there's no BS that ever comes out of his mouth. You might not like what he's saying. You might not like his past. Me personally, I could care less. And nobody's perfect. And he's the American, Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent is the American dream. The American dream. You had a kid. I don't even know if he graduated high school. I have no clue. But we know his background to a certain degree. He pulled himself up out of that and became what he is today. Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent, is the American dream. He would be inspiration for all the other younger citizens in our country. I'm not talking about crime. I'm saying an inspiration. You look at him and you say, well, if he's capable of becoming one of the biggest celebrities in all of America, and then he became president of the United States, that is a very motivating, a very inspirational story and character. The most important thing, he doesn't fear anybody, nobody. He can go sit down with Putin and Putin will be on his toes. He can go sit down with the leader of this country or that country. You think 50 Cent's going to take any garbage from anybody? I don't think so. Do I think Stephen A. Smith would? Absolutely. I think Stephen A. Smith would be so far over his head, it would be like a kindergartner going swimming in a shark tank. Do I think 50 Cent would be in over his head? Nope. Absolutely not. I think he could sit there with anybody and do business with anybody. Not even do business. He's just going to make other foreign leaders realize it's going to be my way or the highway. So you're going to do what you're told And that's going to be it. He's not going to bend the knee. He's not going to quiver. He's not going to be in the corner crying and shriveled up and becoming all emotional when things go wrong. He's pulled himself out of way worse things than being the president of the United States. If you give somebody like him power, who obviously can control, he's never been in trouble since his past. He's never been in trouble. He's stayed out of trouble. Usually, money reveals a person's character, right? They get money and then the real them comes out. You see good people become bad. You see bad people become good. I don't consider 50 Cent bad at all. But look at his character once he got money. He don't mess around in the streets anymore. He's making legitimate money. You put him in charge of the military, you put him in charge of the country. I honestly think he's going to run it like a business. He's going to run it like President Trump. He's President Trump 2.0, except for a little tanner. So when I hear people trying to elevate Stephen A. Smith, a person that stands for absolutely nothing, because you want to elevate, again, I don't care about this, but if you're saying, I want a black male that has nothing to do with politics, I'll pick Curtis Jackson, AKA 50 Cent, all day over him. At least I can go to sleep at night knowing that we have a masculine man running the country who ain't going to go for the LGBTQ mafia and allow Democrats to cut off little kids' penises and bow to leaders around the world who are threatening America. I can go to sleep at night thinking to myself, there's a man running the country and I'm safe here. This would be honestly one of the great. President Trump's story is absolutely amazing, right? Absolutely amazing, the story. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like what I'm about to say, but I don't care. I have to tell the truth. Barack Hussein Obama is, to me, is not a black man. He's a man of color, but he didn't grow up like the black experience in America. And I'm not saying that. You're saying that all black men are poor and come from a messed up background. That's not what I'm saying at all. 50 Cent is a black American who grew up in Queens, and then another impressive thing about 50 Cent is this, before I get back to Barack Obama. You don't think that 50 Cent ever encountered racism along his, of course he has. Do you ever hear him talk about racism? Do you ever hear him blame the white man for all his bad decision making? I've never heard it. I've never heard it ever. Barack Obama grew up filthy rich, went to every private school, grew up overseas. I'm sorry, I don't consider Barack Obama a black American. I don't. I don't consider him the way I look at Curtis Jackson. Curtis Jackson is a black American. He's as American as apple pie. I don't look at a Barack Obama the same way. I'm entitled to my opinion. I know a lot of people are not going to like that. It has nothing to do with he's a man of color. I don't like his attitude. If you ask 50 Cent, he's not. It's going to be hard for him to come out and tell you the truth, tell you this, because there's a certain stigma in the black community that if you're a pro-American, that you're an Uncle Tom and this and that. But 50 Cent is, all his principles are super conservative. And he knows that America is the greatest country in the world. He knows that. You know how he knows that? Because he saw what his life once was and what his life became. And only in America could he change his life the way that he did. Barack Obama, he doesn't appreciate anything that America has to offer. He becomes president, and what does he say? Everything needs to change. Him and his wife took a dump in everybody's face. That's what they did. 50 Cent, I've never heard 50 Cent say anything negative about America, white people, the man, racist, nothing. To me, 50 Cent comes across as he's accountable for his behavior and his actions and his decision making. That's a man. That's a man I would vote for. That's somebody I would look at and be like, you know what? I would trust him with the country over Stephen A. Smith any day of the week. And I mean that. And I would probably favor him over just about, if it came to Republican candidates, thinking about who's going to run after President Trump, I don't know who. I have no clue. So I would probably put 50 Cent at the forefront of everybody that I could think of that I would vote for. He would have to run as a Republican, right? So 50 Cent would have to run as a Republican. To me, it would be very, very difficult for me as a lifelong Republican to vote for a Democrat, even though I'm supporting him. And I think the Republican Party, if they push for 50 Cent to be the guy, to be their main guy, I think it would open so many doors with a lot of black voters and a lot of minority voters who think that the Republican Party doesn't care about them. And it would just blow those doors wide open. And it would be like one of the biggest. Yeah, I said this before. President Trump's story is absolutely incredible, but only 50 Cent's story would be even more incredible. I think it would be absolutely awesome. And it's not just the story. I believe 1,000% that he could do the job. And that's the most important thing. Thanks for tuning in to Unbreakable with Chris Chamasiros.